Well, evening. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. I am Bret Anderson, your host and MC for the evening. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm the new project manager over at the OSMOSIS Institute, and trying to help keep things up and running until we get to our next conference. And for everyone interested in our OSC exam, I've got all the details for you at the end of tonight's session. So with that, we've got a few special guests on the panel, but we're all friends here. We'll keep it informal. I do want to pass it around for introductions, if you don't mind. Tell me a little bit about yourself and specifically how you got started in the world of OSINT. Will, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, it's great to start it off. Thank you. My name is William Meckler. I am a law enforcement officer in the a large. I work for a large metropolitan agency in the state of Florida. I've been in law enforcement for 17 years, and in that time, I know it doesn't look like I could possibly have been in law enforcement for that long, but in that time, I saw the need for utilizing tools and the internet just to find suspects. I was introduced to OSINT through Cynthia Hetherington. That was my first one of my first trainings that I've ever taken was through her, and I've been hooked ever since. Whether it's capture the flags or in my most recent assignment working for the Central Florida Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, where we aggressively hunt pedophiles who prey on children, utilizing OSINT to put very bad people in jail for a very long time was a very, very rewarding thing for me. So other than that, I'm just here to, I'm part of the OSMOSIS Institute, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Appreciate it, Will. Cynthia Navarro, how about you?
Let me go off of mute. I actually have been doing OSINT when you would have to go by yourself and go through all of the files at the courthouse or go to the library to visit Cynthia Hetherington. And then I started getting pretty serious about it in '97 on Alta Vista. So I don't think I need to say anymore. I don't want to age myself any more than I have to. And I'm your president for OSMOSIS Institute. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
And I was debating on who to go next, but I think she led it over to Cynthia Hetherington, the one and only.
You're not going to age yourself, but you're supposed to be visiting me in the library, so you just pulled me right in there. Hey, gang, this is for fun. This is for laughs. My name's Cynthia. I'm a Capricorn. I don't like walks on the beach because I don't like sand in places you can't get rid of. Oh, wait, that's not this group. I'm the CEO and founder of the OSMOSIS Institute. I'm passionate about all things OSINT. I'm in love with every one of these people, my OSINT Academy grads, the folks that come out to the conference, and those of you that are just genuinely interested in getting your amazing skill set professionalized. And let me just say it this way, so that you don't have to explain what you do to your colleagues and your coworkers as you're walking in the door. And I'm real thrilled to be part of the interview pack tonight. Thank you all for being here.
Last and certainly not least, Ray Baker.
Hey, so my name is Ray Baker. I am a senior OSINT analyst for a large consulting firm. I have not been in OSINT that long, actually. I've started in 2019 when I was looking for a new, kind of more technical career from graphic design. So I did that for 15 years. Again, I don't know if I look like I've been doing it for that long. I did graphic design, and then I switched over to OSINT when I played in a Trace Labs Capture the Flag event at a conference that I was given free tickets for. And I was always really into true crime, and that was like the nexus between technology and true crime that I needed. And I was just off from there. I went back home. I, wrote blogs and talked, and I guess here we are. I wrote a book. It's displayed prominently behind me here. I'm also a private investigator in my state, also a Capricorn. And I am the co-founder for Case Scenarios, which is an OSINT, immersive OSINT training company. think that's everything. I do a lot of volunteer work.
Well, thank you, team, for showing up tonight and just kind of rambling on about some of our favorite OSINT resources. While we're running through the sessions, if anyone has a question, please drop it in our chat box over there, and we'll be sure to get around to your questions. We do want to keep this friendly and informal, so I don't want to say nothing's off the table, but let's keep it interesting. With that, we do have a couple published authors with us, Ray Baker and Cynthia Hetherington. And one of the questions that comes up as a beginning resource, because I've got both books here on my desk. OSINT changes so fast, like almost every single day, something changes in OSINT. What's your thought process, and how do you codify things when you put it down in hardback paper or soft copy to make it last the standard of time? And Cynthia, I'll start with you on this one.
That's a great question. The writing anything where the information is going to be changing on a regular basis could be difficult. And as a librarian, I truly can appreciate what we go from calling a book to being a serial. And like Mike Basil's written has got some great work, but every year it has to update it, as my class knows, because he's dealing with tech that changes. I think at the core of what we do as OSINTers is core foundational material and search strategies and frameworks. And I noticed that, especially, and I'm going to just tip my hat to Ray, when I picked up her book for the first time, I read it from a flight from LA to Jersey, and I just absorbed the whole book. And I couldn't be more excited because I saw a lot of framework, things that would outlast a website going up or coming down. Not only in writing and selection of material and what it goes into your work and what you decide is going to be what could be not only informational, but it could also be brought up into things like court cases and challenging experts in that space. But also stuff that we all work on together as we create training and classes, like what's worth going into a room and teaching other people. Will this benefit them 6 weeks or 6 months from now? So frameworks, having a plan, and knowing that what you're teaching is meeting a requirement that goes beyond just getting people to turn a page.
All right. Framework. I do love frameworks. I like flow charts. I've got a bunch of them posted up here behind the monitor. Y'all can't see. But Ray, what was your thought process in codifying everything, especially being so new to the field and creating such a fabulous research guide? What was your thought?
Oh, thank you. I don't want to repeat too much of what Cynthia said because I agree with all of it. I think so. The reason I wrote the book was kind of on a whim, just as like a challenge to myself, but also when I began in OSINT, the first thing you do is read Basil's book, right? Like it's kind of the gold standard. Everybody recommends it. That's what you get. And I noticed that it's very technical, and some people can be turned off by that or daunted by it, so they'll just freeze. Like, where do I go? What do I do now? I don't know how to code or whatever. I wanted to make a book that was easy for people to get into, to see themselves doing this day to day, kind of give them examples of how it might interact with their daily jobs or jobs they might want in the future. I did the framework thing. I didn't want to put tools in. I tried really hard to only mention a few tools that I felt like were going to be around for a while, because again, like having to replace a book or publish it online just so people can go and download a PDF, that seems exhausting. And tools change, they die, new ones pop up. Having to learn that every time, or when it goes down, you're like everybody was talking about Google this week, like, oh, Google's not working. What do we do? And it's going to be the same thing when they implement their AI. People aren't going to know how to search. So having the methodology taught to you, I feel, is more valuable, because then no matter what the tool is, you still know why you're searching for it, what you're searching for, and how to search for it. So each chapter, each thing I talk about in there it kind of follows that. So like, why do I care when I'm looking at this? How do I find it? And what is there to find?
Awesome. And a little caveat for everyone. There's Ray's book is all over the OSC exam coming up along with Mike Basil. So Welcome to the big time, Ray. Everyone's gonna be certified based on
Oh, thank you.
your reference materials. All right. Well, OSINT is I think we're picking up steam as a profession, especially with the certification coming along. I would say just in the last 10 years, we've seen a whole lot of change in how we do our jobs and how we use reference materials for our jobs. So my next question to I'll point this at Will Meckler. Over the last 10 years or so, what reference materials have changed for you, and what are your like time honored favorites you're always going to go to?
I mean, this is a kind of a trick question here because there's always those different references. I mean, the Start Me pages, I love them, but I hate them. You find these Start Me pages that are just miles long, and they're great, but I can sometimes get lost in them. And I'm not. If you have a good one that you stick to and you like, I would definitely recommend sticking. I mean, of course, I'm going to say OSINT framework. Everybody at some point has probably heard of that or probably used that. If you haven't, you should definitely check it out. It's definitely a tool that's been around for a while, and it definitely, whether it's through that initial build or it's somebody who's taken a build off of that and just increase the amount of information and the amount of resources in it, it's always going to be there. And I think with OSINT framework is probably going to be my go-to 9 times out of 10, other than Google Dorking. Google Dorking, and I know I'm taking somebody's thunder here, but that's always learn Google Dorking, and you will need pretty much nothing else because that's amazing. So
Even Google Dorking is changing now. You can't search for a file type anymore. What the heck?
it's changing a lot, and
yeah,
but gotta stay on top.
All right, Cynthia Navarro, what's some of your time honored resources?
Well, they just fixed the little problem with Google today. I read that on LinkedIn. And I want to say that if you go talking about LinkedIn, if you go to LinkedIn, you're going to learn. That is like a new spot for all your current different webinars, trainings that are around, new tools that are out there that someone's sharing with you. So my thing now is to keep track of LinkedIn so I know what's changing right away. It depends on what kind of a case you're working on. Are you going for social media? Are you looking at businesses? And are they international? Are you looking at international people? Do you want to go on and get away from Google and go over to Baidu, Yandex, wherever the country is that you happen to be looking in for individuals? So I don't have anything that's a favorite. It just depends on what I'm doing and what I'm finding online and from trainings from other people, because we can always learn something.
Awesome. Ray, you've got a whole book on resources. What's your favorite?
I used to say Twitter was my favorite, or X, whatever you want to call it now. I used that a lot when I was starting because I would use tweet decks. So you could set up a tweet deck of all the people that you followed, and it was like a news thing. Like you could open it up and see the daily news of all the posts that everybody made that you follow. So I do a lot of maritime OSINT, and there are specific people who tweet about OSINT in the South China Sea. So I would make a tweet deck of all of those people, and every morning I'd look at what they posted, and I could keep track of like rocket launches and where ships were and things like that. Now the Twitter's kind of less active. I do focus a lot on LinkedIn for learning, seeing what people are posting, what they're doing. I still do use Twitter. As for like techniques, I find that I can't keep track of resources. Like I have a whole bookmark tab of resources, but I don't use it. I just Google it. Like I need to find a ship, like, or, tell me what tool will do this thing. And that's what I rely on. So hopefully Google never goes down. I'd be lost. Keep it simple. That's what I feel. Don't get overwhelmed by tools and techniques and all of that. Just basic level. That's all you need.
Appreciate it. It seems like the more senior I see my analysts become, the less tool reliant they are. They just go to a search bar and start cranking work out.
It's a weird thing. I think people come into OSINT and I find they always want tools. Like, what is your list of tools? What tools do I use? Give me all your tools. And like, I don't use that many tools. Like, I'm going to tell you the tool that I use mostly throughout the day is Google. Like, sometimes I'll use domain tools or something like that, Epios, but for the most part, it's Google. Like, don't complicate it when you don't have to.
Nice. Cynthia Hetherington. I've got two in my head. Let's see if you call them out. I might still have them when you're done.
I was just saying amen, Sister to Ray. Plus, I like your hair straight, by the way.
Thank you.
Obviously the Google, don't forget that Bing is another search engine that gives you a different perspective. And because much of my OSINTing is for due diligence work, so BRB publications, which I'm always screaming at my class, is really an excellent resource. I wrote my book around it, so I'm a big fan of that as well. Anything that I like start me like pages, but I want them organized with a taxonomist's approach because I don't want to kind of guess at what we're doing. And I agree with you guys that let's push the button and get the answer out. That's not an OSINTer, that's a tool user. And we need them, they're important. And sometimes the vast amounts of data we have in front of us, we need to churn it through one of our amazing sponsors, by the way, all for that. But on the flip side, when I'm especially training a group of, it could be military folks, and sometimes I'm really having this heart to heart and they're, we're buried in a skip. We have piped in air. I question a guy's diet from the night before because this is me right now. I can't touch my cell phone and I'm feeling harsh. They're doing things, it's all tool based and they're not looking at the open internet. But then they come above that wave line and they're out in the field and they need to get things done immediately. And they don't have Mike Basil's book in the hand and they can't run some Linux VPN through the Mars lander. They got this thing, right? So once again, we're back to what is my browser searching going to give me? And the best tool I have is my training. It's structured, framework, organized, and my training goes all the way back to library science. So I didn't start with finding things through the internet. I found things through finding things in collections. So that just gets adapted, which is why for 30 years, this has just evolved time over time. And Ray Baker's book.
We got a question from the audience. Why Bing?
It really became crystal clear. We were doing some vehicle searching, or actually mapping searching, and just, did the usual Google Maps and found an address and saw these vehicles parked in the driveway and thought, gee whiz, if only I could see the license plates on them and understand what those tag numbers were. So I ran the same address in Bing and found it was unredacted. And don't tell anybody. So I started playing more and more with Bing and its mapping specifically. And it just kind of was a no kidding moment where I was like, yeah, Microsoft is driving around a vehicle taking surveillance shots all day too. I should be using both for when I'm doing any type of geo work. And I've run full surveillance operations from Twitter, Bing Maps, and, street cams, sitting in my office, just doing my thing going, oh, I'm going to have to hire. Oh no, there it is. So lots of good uses there.
You started Kristen onto what my favorite resources are, and it's GIS. I love a good Esri or a QGIS, or even a Google, because there's so many data sets out there that you can only access from a GIS platform. Tax records. Oh, I love tax records. I'll go through every county in the US and start looking at tax records and pull people's full names, who they're married to, who they're living with. A good GIS system is great for me. And then an RSS reader I found is very useful. Just in my busy day, setting up a good RSS reader to get the daily news going and keep me updated is useful. We did have a question come in about the advent of AI and integrations with different search engines. Do we think it's going to make a difference between Google and Edge or Bing or anything else. Anyone want to take that one for the open?
I think that a lot of the search engines, like Bing, for example, Microsoft is using ChatGPT already, I believe. So we're already integrated into some of the AI, but it is definitely going to change how our search engines work. Whether the amount of, and even, and I'm just going to use OpenAI as an example of one. I mean, we know there's hundreds of them out there. There's programs and platforms and API keys that you can use to get data sets that are more recent than 2021 or 2020, wherever they ended their data. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to change how things go. I mean, it's just, the integration is definitely going to upgrade and update your searches. Now, how you're going to turn that into is going to be dependent upon how well you are able to utilize that API key or utilize that program. A lot of them are already done for you. So yeah, but it's definitely going to change things, in my opinion.
I think AI is it's gonna be difficult to have people shift their thinking and how they ask questions to it. Like you have to phrase things certain ways to get what you want. You can query it to make tables for you and all sorts of things. And I think day to day, we don't interact with Google like that. And overall, it's going to take like a shift in thinking to get good at that.
I think that's why they have so many classes that are starting to come out as far as prompting and understanding the prompting. It's almost like communication that you're trying to describe something to someone, and you want to make sure it's very detailed, because then that's what you're going to get back, and understand what it is that you want, and then continue with it and break it down a little bit more as you go forward to finally get the specifications that you were looking for. And once you start doing that, then you'll understand, this is a better way to prompt. And I've done that with doing something with Laura Chappell, who's in here, and we went online and made up a whole story, a murder mystery story, and going online, getting codes, getting all kinds of stuff. But it was understanding how we asked those questions that was a challenge. So the prompting is definitely something we have to be careful of.
Yeah, and I think it's really good at, like, Google, you would say, quotes Ray Baker, and that would give you results. With AI, it's better if you like upload documents and have it search through everything and give you data based on the documents, things like that. Like there's better ways to use it than we use Google now. And I think it's going to speed up work once we all kind of catch up to the AI.
I think this is huge for OSINTers. I'm so happy that we finally started getting this out there. Let's not kid ourselves. Getting artificial intelligence involved in retrieving through the volumes of data that we're known for sifting for. I don't want OSINT to be selfish, okay? I don't want OSINTers being known as being collectors. I want you to be known as analysts. Remember the intel in your title. And having a machine go out there and grab a lot of data so that you come back and now you look at it and say, this is what this data means. That's what the library science tradecraft teaches us. Anybody could walk into a library and go to the shelves and figure out that the 600s are going to get you to the health area. But a librarian is going to say, what particularly do you need to get out of the health information? What is your goal? It's the reference interview. It's really how we're taught. So now that technology's caught up 30 years in the making of what this is, OSINTers will still have a critical role in doing the search and collection, because we do know that when we throw in Ray Baker into Google and we get a bunch of answers back, we automatically generate like, Wikipedia result, whatever. Oh, look, there's her author page from Wiley. Okay, that means something. Oh, this is just a comment piece on some OSINT board. Nah, it's an op-ed that, like, we do that by nature. You forget that your neighbor is just absorbing everything that's coming at them. So I think AI is actually going to give us more authority, allowing us to specify and give qualitative results back to our customers.
Yeah, Cynthia Navarro and I actually did a podcast with Buddy Jericho over at Indago, who's he's making a whole platform on AI enabled reporting. It's over on the Osmosis site in the AI forum, but the whole conversation was how do you use prompting and the difference between just going to a dumb Google and putting things in quotations and tricking it with a few colons here and there versus having a conversation. And Buddy's a former human intelligence guy, so interrogating your source is basically how he approaches working with AI. And to answer your question in the chat about getting ahead of the bad guys, I do OSINT for cybersecurity in my day job, and bad guys are using Worm GPT for code. They're using phishing GPT. They built AIs to build phishing emails, and so you can just go ahead and drop your CV file of all the credential leaks you want, throw it in your phishing GPT, and it will go ahead and spit out all the template emails for you to start sending. So knowing that is one thing, being able to defend against it, well, we got to tell ChatGPT, please take it down or something. But yeah, it's definitely a race to who can adopt it first when it comes to AI. All right. With all that discussion on tools and resources, and Cynthia may have said it earlier, what's the best soft skill that someone can learn when they're coming into this field? And I'm not going to call on Cynthia Hetherington because I know she wants to answer, but Ray Baker, what's the best soft skill someone needs to
I'm
have?
going
to
to
be an
steal her
OSINT?
answer. It's critical thinking. You can teach people tools. I mean, you can teach them all the tools in the world. That's not the hard thing to find. The hard thing to find is somebody who sees something and wants to dig more. Like if somebody texts me something and they're like, this looks interesting, like the first thing I think is I need to get to my computer and look at this, because that's just how my brain works. And I find that analysts who have that drive to just dig a little bit deeper and look at things from different angles, like that to me is the most valuable skill. Did I steal your answer?
Can I just add to that that we have a in the OSINT Academy right now, there's a capture the flag going, and critical thinking is key on this. And Ryan, who's on the call here, I don't know if he wants to pipe up and say how much he hates me right now. But essentially there was a page with over 100 images of a single rabbit. And one of them, there was hidden EXIF data. So, he's going through all these things. And then, Ryan, I don't know if you want to share what ended up happening or not, if you want to jump on the line here.
No, I'm here. I'm just wiping my tears away from last night's exercise. So essentially, Google had taken and stripped that data out. So there was 100 and none of them had any data in it. So I'm telling him it's there. And he tried everything he finally, and yeah, it's I think he actually got it through he was able to actually pull it through a hex editor though. So, but it was that thinking that got him outside of just there's 100 rabbits. What's this going to take me? Where's it going to take me? Down the rabbit hole. And that's where it took him. Sorry, off topic, but
No,
saw a squirrel.
Will, you're actually the one I was going to call on next for soft skills, but I think you might have answered it.
Yeah, I'm going to tap onto these ones, right?
Mine's always been curiosity. Whenever I'm conducting an interview for a new person, I just want to know if they're curious. Because no one has fully mastered this trade craft yet. Even my senior analysts are usually the ones that are the most curious about things in the world, and they just always ask that next question. And the change in a daily TTP doesn't throw them for a loop or anything. They can just keep driving on it with their research. It's usually my mid-level analysts that I think have the hardest time. They know all the tools, they know all the buttons, they know how to follow the checklist. But when a tool goes down, a button goes away, or a Google Dork doesn't work that day, it's almost like hitting a hard wall for those mid analysts. So that's where I see my transition between my mid moving into a senior analyst position is their curiosity starting to take over. So as a young analyst, I say just always ask those questions. What's next? How can I search this a different way? And with that, because our profession is so vastly different, that's why writing this OSC exam has been such a challenge, because how do you standardize critical thinking? How do you standardize curiosity into an exam that someone can get a badge for and put on their resume? I think we're getting there, and I think we got a pretty good solution, but I'm looking forward to the community's input when we publish an exam really soon. I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to wait till the end. All right, Cynthia Hetherington, I know you're brimming over there. What soft skill does everyone need to have?
Oh gosh, that's hard because everyone really hit a lot of really good ones. Actually, when you do this for a living, when you wake up every morning and you go to a job that does OSINT, I think the thing that you really need to have is, first of all, a good furry dog or friend. You know, because like Casey is critical to my happiness. Very good coffee, but really the ability to grind through cases that you don't want to work on. You know, I mean, we all, right? I see Terry's laughing. Like, if I get a really interesting case, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get into it. And me and my coworker, he's also an OA grad, Brian, he was, you know, he was churning through some like background investigations on individuals, and I, you know, just check in and I'm like, hey, Brian, you're doing? He's like, I'm bored to tears. And it's so hard when you're doing OSINT and you know you're doing everything right, you're getting the information, the person's not exciting. And then I landed him a case where he had to do this link analysis and create charts and maps. And the next thing we're in lucid data and we're getting all creative. And so the creative side of making your job fun when it isn't, not even when it's hard, because some of us, like, we have skull games people working right now on some really ugly, hard things, and God bless those people. But on the flip side, when you're just working on dull, like, oh, you know, I imagine Ray doing a lot of oceanic and vessel searching, and sometimes, like, especially when she publishes, it's all exciting, right? But I'm like, she's looking at fucking boats all day long. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
I love it though.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
the
right?
big chart. I'm a visual person though, so I take the dull and I try and make it exciting by putting it into a chart.
See, so you make it fun, and
Yeah.
like you make it something that's actually something you can't wait to get into. And after doing it myself for 30 years, and I'm, you know, it takes like I gotta have the, I mean, I gotta be hunting a, you know, a dog kicking, malicious son of a gun who's done terrible things to small people, and then catch them on a vessel in South Asia. That makes me happy. So being creative is a big part of it. But again, having osmosis around, I'm always leaning in and seeing what you guys are working on. So soft skill, creative.
All right, I left the hard one over to Cynthia Navarro. What hasn't been mentioned yet?
I think that I really think you need to know when to step away. Because I know I was working on something the other day and having a real hard time finding what I was looking for. And so I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to step away. I went in, made a cup of tea, went out in the backyard for maybe 5-10 minutes. And then I just sat there for just a few minutes. And then I went back in and I was able to get what I needed to get. Because you can get yourself so wound up and continuously going over and over the same thing, you're not going to be able to take those creative skills that we talk about and use them in a whole different thought process. You just need to be able to change it.
Awesome.
That's easy.
And to go back to the questions in the chat about GPT-4 and GPT 3.5, yes, you do need to pay for a GPT Pro for 4, but you can get the GPT-4 for free through the Copilot app on your phones. Just if you want to play around with GPT-4's data, which is live and a lot more useful than the constant, I haven't been taught anything since 2022 response you get out of GPT 3.4. Okay, so we've talked about the skills we all look for and require in our analysts. One of the other things that Osmosis is trying to do with our certifications is we're trying to build pathways, specific career fields. So with that, we're all experts and some of us newbies here. What's the one thing you don't know how to do and have never been able to learn how to do in the OSINT space? It's just like that blinding thing that keeps nagging you, whether it be coding in Python or data cleaning or whatever it is. What's the one thing out there that you wish you knew how to do and hopefully someone else can help you with? And I'm going to put this hard question on Cynthia Hetherington first because I think she knows how to do everything. Does she?
Can you repeat the question, please? I was trying to get people to join the call.
What's the skill you don't know how to
Likely.
do? What's that nagging skill that just always bugs you because you've never been able to master it?
Oh God, I hate when you guys get into the whole manage attribution thing because it keeps moving. And you're like, I've set up a VPN going through Thailand, but it's touching Russian servers, but it looks like it's coming out of the Philippines. And I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, let's just go get like some authenticate or something, okay? It is not my area of expertise. I think we need to bring, I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth. We need to bring more cyber into OSINT. I have very dear respect for my cyber people. And the other side of me is saying, please get out of my research world. So I'm not the technical. That's why I keep Will Meckler very, very close to me.
Oh, she just threw you under the bus. Will, what's your weakness?
I'm going to say that everything. I mean, I will never ever know everything, and the second that I start to think that I do, I'm foolish. I go in as I am a forever learner. I try to get every opportunity to learn something new. Every single time I've been a part of the OSINT Academy, I have learned so many things from so many new people. Trace labs, for example, I've judged for them for years, and learning new things, how people leverage simple things that you would never even think of. So I think to just flat out say I know nothing and go into it with that mindset, I'm always going to learn more. So I know nothing.
It's very Socratic of you. I appreciate it. Cynthia Navarro.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with Will. Yeah, and I'm not technical. I just try to hang around with people that are smarter than me that I can call on and beg for mercy to help me. But technical, no, that's not me. Python, I keep saying I'm gonna learn that. It's simple. And that's about as far as I get. So maybe laziness is part of my other problem, that I haven't learned to be energetic and get out there and learn those hard things.
All right, Ray, what's been a struggle for you to adapt as a skill?
I have zero interest in coding anything. Absolutely no interest. Because I'm bad at it, but also because I have no interest. I'm way better at putting together connections of people and places and contracts and things like that than I am like IP kind of technical research. While I do have a cyber background, that's still always the hardest thing to me, like trying to understand what's talking to what and why and if it's important. So I always keep somebody around who knows that better, hoping that I can absorb it somehow.
Yeah, so my favorite thing is managed attribution and mapping my network. I love hiding from everything. I love network diagramming and I love data sets and cleaning data sets. Using the data sets, that's not my specialty. I want to be the guy in the background, just like doing technical stuff while some fancy analyst is up there in the limelight, making the analytical assessments and capturing bad guys. So um, what it what we've said and what I think my hypothesis over the last years is there's definitely different types of OSNers out there. We've got the very analytical, critical thinking type OSNer, but we also have the very logical collection technician is what I've always called them, that just knows how to get at data sets, clean data sets, put it in a logical data framework, put a search bar on it, and provide that off to an analytical person. And then my personal favorite is geospatial. Geospatial just always seems that skill set out there that people overlook, but I was a geointer in the Army for 20 years, so that's probably why I'm partial to it. So Cynthia Navarro kind of hit on it a little bit. With all this great big heavy work that your gray matter is working on during the day, what do you do to relax? What do you do to keep yourself fresh mentally and agile? Cynthia Navarro, I'll kick it over to you.
Well, I think you already know because I'm always telling you I'm leaving to go up to the ranch with the horses. They don't talk back to me. They don't expect much other than carrots. So that's what I do is go out to a ranch, hang out with the horses.
Will?
I've been blessed and given some amazing opportunities and been learned some very useful skill sets that are able to be passed on, I guess. I truthfully, when I'm not doing the horrible, nasty things on the internet, I like to be able to pass the things that I've learned on from some of my mentors who are in this room somewhere, and have taught me some really amazing tricks. And I like to pass them on to other people who may not know them. And it might be something as simple as the State Farm trick, which if you don't know it, you'll probably Google it and figure it out. But it's just, little things like that, little tidbits of information. I truthfully enjoy passing that knowledge on to somebody else. And when you see that aha moment, it's really, really rewarding.
And I think Cynthia is showing her love of dogs is her pastime. Cynthia, how do you break away from OSINT?
Sarah has 22 dogs. Can I just say that out loud? Good Lord. I thought Frank had a lot of dogs. I think it's important that we do have something for the other half of our gray matter to kind of go out there and break away from. I think you'll find that most OSINTers, most analysts are always intrigued by puzzles and doing things that keep our mental acuity going. So I kind of caught myself, especially, I'm not traveling the last month, which is just weird because I'm always traveling. So I'm back to doing crossword puzzles and actual puzzles. I'm that nerdy, I'm more librarian and I'm an investigator. I'm really that boring. I do like doing volunteer stuff. Honestly, any free moments I could break away. If I could use OSINT for good, helping folks like Skull Games, standing up Osmosis, like what the heck? I'm not just gonna get paid to do this for a living. I want to bring all my friends around in a joyous Zoom call and just chit chat about what we love. But there's a husband out there somewhere too. I'm sure he's fine. He's a firefighter, so the building doesn't get burnt down, but cooking, yeah, we get it back. So, dogs.
I'm a
So-
big Sudoku guy myself. I got to do Sudoku puzzles like religiously every morning, fire up my brain. And then obviously music is one of my things. And just recently got a pool table to the other room. So it's really nice just to be able to step around the corner and shoot some pool for a minute, take a mental break. But I find frequent mental breaks help me stay focused. Ray, how about you?
I have small children. There's no relaxing. But when I'm, I guess, trying to relax, I do OSINT adjacent. I do also a lot of volunteer work, and education, kind of trying to give back. But I have an art background. That's kind of what I've always gravitated towards. So I do a lot of painting and drawing. And what I really like to do is I make these, you see like giant train sets, like the train tables people make. I don't do the trains. I don't care about the trains, but the little buildings, I love the little buildings. So I make these, they're 1/32nd scale, or what, no, 1/64th. Sorry, they're very small. I build them and then paint them and then just look at them.
You mentioned
they are
the trees are
great.
great.
Yeah,
Yes, I like making the trees too.
yeah, I've been following you. That's great.
My goal is to one day have like a whole village of little houses.
So I have the entire Dungeons and Dragons military force painted in small lead figurines.
Oh, there you
I
go.
didn't know we had this in common.
Yeah, these are like little wooden things you have to put together, and then you can paint them however you want and
Oh,
make
no,
a
I
make a
know.
village.
But your village could be overrun by my
It could be, yeah.
my little elf army.
It definitely could be.
Or we could sublet.
Yeah, will they fit inside?
Uh, So there's a couple, there's some ladies out there that are happy that there is finally a mom with kids.
I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. So I definitely have kids, and luckily my husband works from home, so he's the buffer. But it's a struggle. I went back to school. That's how I started in OSINT, because I switched. So I started going back to school to Penn State part-time. So I was doing that while learning OSINT and trying to like break into the industry. And even now, like I'm going for my master's next semester. So it's just, I'm afraid to stop, because if I stop, I'll just give up.
It's awesome. So we've got a whole diverse population in personal lives and professional lives. And one of the big things why everyone's here for osmosis is we are trying to professionalize our profession through certification. So what do we think that's going to mean when we say that we finally have a standard across our profession? How's it going to affect everyone? Will, I'll start with you on the law enforcement side.
So I've heard OSINT described as, without the certifications, as the Wild West. That's been something that I've heard in the past. And while I don't necessarily agree with that, I do think that people can act inappropriately by using certain forms of OSINT. I think by having that standardization, it's going to show that, hey, this is somebody who knows the rules. They know not to do the things they shouldn't be doing. Just because something's available on the internet doesn't mean that you can use it. Going in and finding data breaches and getting passwords and usernames and then using those passwords and usernames, that's not, okay. It's still somebody's personal stuff. And just looking at the overall picture as to what's right and wrong, showing that you have the standard, it's going to be huge. It's truly going to be game changing without being a vendor specific. This is the community that together has come together and says, this is what's okay, this is what's not, this is what isn't okay, and this is going to be what we should all know to at least have the basics. And where it can go from there, who knows?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Coming from the government space, there's people aren't even allowed to do OSINT until they go to training and get certified. But outside the government space, there's nothing to stop people from doing it. There's nothing to stop people from using those credentials they found online just to take a quick peek inside someone's Facebook or Gmail account. And wow, now you're in jail, guy. Thanks. And your investigation's invalid. So yeah, I absolutely think it's going to help clear things up for people. Cynthia Navarro.
Well, I actually think that when we talk of being standard, it's ethics, which is standard no matter what. It's understanding more than just what you're going to a class and they're telling you this is what you need to know. I'm going to test you on this and that's it. This has to be something for everyone to understand, to make it, whether it's going to be in a specific area or an overall review. That's what's important it's a standardization, but it's for everyone. It's not just for whoever took this course or whoever took that course. This is going to be something for all of us to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe I saw Glenn's question about level 1, 2, or 3. Yes to all. We're starting with the foundational. We're starting with how do you get into this career? Fire alarm battery. So we're going to start with the foundational, but we absolutely want to continue to standardize with the profession to all the way up to the advanced levels. Ray, in your experience, what do you think a certification is going to mean to OSINTers?
Well, first, I think it'll make it easier for them to get hired because it's so hard now. I mean, when I was starting, there's no certification. I mean, you could take a SANS course, you could put that on your resume. But a lot of the people hiring don't really understand what is good, what is bad. So I actually relied on a lot of the things that I had done, like talks and blogs, and used that kind of personal stuff that I had done to bolster my resume. But I think just having standards for what a good analyst is, what they should be, is good for hiring, but also for us because we have there's nothing out there, no box to tell us like we're doing a good job, we're fitting it in, we're doing good ethically. And when you're starting out, if you don't have like a mold, a framework, if you will, how do you know when you're doing well?
Yeah, as a hiring manager, it's been really hard for me because I can't tell my recruiter, go look for someone who's graduated Cynthia Hetherington's course. And someone shows up with a Black Horse certificate and my recruiter turns them away because they auto screened. There's nothing wrong with any of the courses we have out there. We have a ton of awesome academies in the OSINT space. But yeah, there's no one thing you put on your resume to say, I am technically competent, I'm ethical, I'm legal, I can perform this job for you. And so that's why I got passionate about this. As a transitioning veteran trying to help other veterans transition, I couldn't say, take your 20 years of experience and put it into this word and it shows up on your resume and you're good to go. Because the Army's version of OS 301 courses, they just don't really apply to commercial OSINT investigations. So really excited to see this course come along, or the certification come along, and really just help all the recruiters and everyone get jobs. Cynthia, you recently did a podcast on professionalism through certification. What are your thoughts?
Well, and it's sweet because just like a bunch of O centers, there's more going on in the chat than in the boxes in front of us, but I'm watching both. And Kim's laughing at me. And I'm gonna go back to this video and I'm gonna snip, and Ray, let me know if it's not appropriate, but what Ray said is truly grasping what we're trying to accomplish here. Normalizing how O centers are perceived outside of our community. We could smoke out each other in a few minutes talking amongst each other. And it's not a matter of if you've taken my course or Mike or Red Ray's book or have been through Black Horse or OSINT Academy. That's not it. And that's not what osmosis in particular is about at all. We're not making you take a class. We're asking you to just, you could have learned your skills from YouTube. You could have learned your skills from reading a book. You could just be freaking smart and really good and perceptive at these skills. You can come to us a priori and take the test and pass it. Because who are we to say that you qualify or don't qualify based on whether you bought SANS at $8,000 or you got a free course because you are a transitioning vet. So what we're doing is we're normalizing it, and we're getting you to get on board with common language about how we all identify ourselves at the base. Like Glenn's asking, hey, we talking in advanced? We haven't even broached that yet. We're talking about it, but we haven't gotten to that, like who can be the Tom Cruise in the room on OSINTing. I just want to make sure that you're all legal, ethical, that you have basic skills, you could put a product together, how to engage with a customer, client, or supervisor, and get this job done. So I think that it's critical to doing that. Yes, Mike teaches it, Ray teaches it, I teach it, and then all of the Black Horse, EAG. I mean, there's a ton of training out there. Get the training wherever you can. Get it in the best way that you can get it. The OSC is going to recognize that you have skills. And somebody was asking earlier in the questions, like, how long are you going to be updating this? Yeah, skills get stale. So we're going to be coming back to you saying, we expect that training will get updated every year, and we will be looking at you and asking you to requalify and research. So hopefully that answers the question, because I've been talking a lot about this. I feel like I'm starting to talk in a circle.
No, you're doing good. There was one thing that someone had, Carl had said, with the standardization, is there a goal of lobbying the state for licensed OSINT investigations, like a PI? So I can tell you that within California, at least, and I know there's 2 other people I've talked to at other states, that they're not even looking into OSINT right now. It's almost too new for them. They don't want to touch it, but you have to understand what the requirements are for investigation and for presenting your evidence into court, if it's something that's going either to civil or criminal. So within California, if you're not a PI, a licensed PI investigator, you can't take any of your OSINT work and put it into court, because they could come back and tell you that it's you're not licensed. You're only an open source person, and you have to have a PI license in order to do your investigations. So they're looking at OSINT as a true investigation, and you need to be licensed to do that, but they're not. So it doesn't make any sense, because there's one thing that tells you you have to be licensed and another thing that says we're not looking into that right now. So you have to be very careful when you're going and looking into the state that you're in, is how do you present your OSINT work? Your certification is not, for getting your jobs, showing people you know what you're doing, but it's not going to work in court at all times. So hopefully it answers that one question. And it's a little deterred from what you were talking about, Cynthia. But
Absolutely. It's the coin will, kind of the wild, wild west, and it's really hard for us to justify. If I do a due diligence and end up getting some guy fired because of information I found, and he's not happy and wants to take me to court about it, how do I justify the findings that I went through? How do I justify the critical reasoning I walked myself through to get to those results that said he was a bad dude and shouldn't work for this company? So we absolutely have the need to standardize our profession. But if you look at any of our professionals across law enforcement or cybersecurity or US government or European or Australian, even the words we use to call ourselves and what we say we do every day are different. So we're taking that challenge on in osmosis to just slap the table and say, this is our standardization, this is our lexicon, these are the words we use to describe what we do, these are what we say we can and cannot do. Basically, so ultimately we can end up in a court of law and stand on a stand and say, this is our research findings, just like any other investigator out there. And the jury can trust our findings because we have a standardized pathway of how we got there. Looking through other questions, the refresh, we absolutely have a certification committee that's helping us define how we want to maintain our certification. Talking a couple hours of ethics training every year because ethics and laws get updated, and probably some actual practical application. While we love all the hobbyists out there that want to dip their toes in the water, what we're looking for is the professionals who want to, have a career and grow. So we're probably going to require you to apply your skills, even if it's just a trace labs or a skull games once or twice a year. We want to make sure that if you're sporting the OSC badge on your LinkedIn, that you're probably putting them to use somehow, if not daily. And as far as a code of ethics for who you can and can't work with, we do have an ethics committee as well. We've already come up with a couple of problem sets for our ethics committee to go to, because in the OSINT space, I'm sure, especially with the tools that are out there, some of the parent companies of those tool builders and designers don't have ethical motives behind why they're collecting all that PAI. And so we're trying to do our due diligence when we work with different tool companies and everyone else and educate our community on how we find that, but without being exclusive of anyone who has just good intentions of helping information be public. And then I think I've caught up the questions in the chat. Yep. So on to what the OSC is going to look like. Good news is we sent the first test out to our beta testers today. My goal was to have it out by February. Luckily, it's a leap year. I got an extra day in February because I needed it. I hate being a project manager who delivers in the 11th hour, but that's who I was today. The test is with the beta testers today, and it will go live, if you're not tracking already, on March 28th. I believe. Osmosis is sponsoring the Hetherington Group for an in-person event out in Chicago. It's a technical training day. Attendance to that is going to get you an in-person seat for the test. And so if you wanted to sign up for that in-person in Chicago, traveling to Chicago is not on your roster. On April 25th, Osmosis is hosting a virtual training day, and we'll be sure to get the socials out on that. By April 25th, you can expect to be able to take the OSC through a virtual proctored exam. We are going to keep it proctored. We are going to make it third-party audited. We want to be a professional association. So we're going to go a little bit high and right with our security standards and make sure that it's not just a buddy system badge that you can just know the right person, say you've done OSINT for a few years and get the credit. We want to make sure that everyone is held to the same standard across the profession. The cost of the exam. The cost of the exam is $200. That is for this first year. If you look hard enough, you'll probably find lots of discount codes and free exams out there through a lot of our sponsors and events that they're running. But by the time that we have the Osmosis Con in October in Las Vegas, which I'm sure everyone's coming out to, the exam should be pretty attainable for everybody. And yes, everyone that passes the exam gets a puppy. Do you have any Great Danes? Huge fan of Great Danes. No? Okay. Probably hard to have 22 dogs Great Dane size running around. And discount code from last year's conference? That's a great question. And this will be one of those times that I defer to my CEO and founder to speak about discount codes.
They'll be coming.
There you go. I've been told to make sure they happen, so we'll get you taken care of. What are your other questions about the certification on the horizon? What can I answer for you?
Well, the last person that said anything, they're interested in golden retrievers. We might take a golden retriever and let you do a test. That's a good possibility. So is it available on demand, self-paced? No. Nope. And sir, kind
Yep.
sir, you can explain that to them.
Yep, it'll be the exam's going to run about an hour to 90 minutes. It's a little over 100 questions. It will be proctored. We are signing a deal with virtual proctoring service, so you should be able to get it proctored in your local area. The AI proctoring is not accredited anywhere, so there probably will have to be a person in the middle. But just like PMP, PHR, or any of those other certs, you could probably sign up to get proctored at your local library, university, or any facility like that. We'll shoot the exam code over to your proctor, and you can take it in your hometown without traveling.
Oh, but Heather, you need you have your anniversary, and so you can't do it on the 25th. But what if we give you a 2-for-1? You could have your husband come. We could get them both done, see how
Wow.
well he's paying attention to your work and listening to you. That sounds like a deal, doesn't it, Sin?
Nothing says love like the word proctor and anniversary.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would love to take the test with me.
We were also getting a lot of questions about what's the curriculum based on, and honestly, we are big fans of Ray Baker and her work, and Mike Basil, who's also our legacy winner of last year. I'm not sure, did you use any of my past book, because my book's coming back out again? No?
No,
Good,
no.
which makes me feel good, because I don't want people to feel like, oh, I gotta go buy Cynthia's book and take the exam. That sounds kind of awkward. But there's a lot of good material in my book, so.
Yeah. We just use Chat GPT,
Yeah.
what's a good question? What should we do?
And
And we use the 4, so we know it's working well.
one less known book out there that I've fallen in love with because I had to find a cited document to source all of my ethics questions out of is Code of Professional Conduct by Kitty Haley. Referenced in a lot of local law enforcement agencies. This is a small, lightweight book. When you read through this book and with all things ethics, you're like, well, yeah, duh. It's because we're all ethical practitioners. But Kitty did a great job of actually documenting why we want to do the right things in our research and how to actually document research properly and make sure that you're following ethics. So that is another less known book that I did start citing some of the exam out of. And Cynthia Hetherington just dropped the link in the chat there.
Kitty Haley, not nationwide, I know my PIs will know that name, is considered the absolute seminal expert on ethical. I mean, she is just legacy investigator, and she has just been following codes of ethics and combining this from state by state and national authorities. She's testified 1,000,000 times. She's gotten like 100 people off of death row. She's just that gal, and she does everything with class and elegance. Here's her bottom line rule: do no harm. And I have nothing but the greatest respect. Her book does really resonate well for our industry.
And so we'll make sure that all our reference materials that we pull everything out of are posted up on the Osmosis site, along with lots of other things. Again, we're trying to be as professional and above board and transparent as possible. So we'll never ask a question that hasn't been published somewhere else, so that even a high school kid, if they got the time to read through the books and learn the skills, they can come and take the test. And that's going to show that they are legal, ethical, and technically competent to start the job as an OSINT professional. Where they go from there, it's up to everyone in this room to mentor and help grow them. And the Osmosis Association is going to continue to challenge our career and make sure that we move through those advanced skill sets as well. And like Cynthia Hetherington and everyone else said, go do your favorite training in your favorite courses. We are in constant conversations with all the popular academies on what curriculums they're using, how are they teaching ethics, how do they teach critical thinking. We don't want to change their curriculums at all because they have customers they have to teach for. What we want to do is make sure that we all have a common standard so that no matter which course you graduate, you've got some expectations to live up to. So, Cynthia Hetherington, anything else for the night?
I just, on to the exam, and something I talked about in OSINT Up with our talking points there is that we are actually, like Cynthia's at SANS right now, we are reaching out to these training institutions and talking to them about becoming part of our organization and allowing us to just even not improve upon, but add that something extra. So if you go through SANS and you get a certificate from them, or you go through, I just saw one, yes, at Fullerton College, there's forgive me, I saw her on LinkedIn. She's got this great program she's running. It's 32 hours of OSINT training. I mean, she's Chrissy, somebody, yikes. All right, caught on the hot seat there, but they have an OSINT program and she's offering certification afterwards. And I'm like, great. Yes, Christine Talley, thank you. So we've got really good material out there, but industry wide now, as an industry association, we're just going to be that one extra qualification that you're going to see. And this is very much, and Navarro can definitely double down on this, as she and I both came up in the high-tech crime world, being the outsiders, not doing coding or forensics works on computers, but supporting with what nobody knew was OSINT back then, but just informational advice on the outside. We watched all the companies start creating OSINT, creating certification for forensics. So Guidance started coming in, and Smart started coming in, and Access Data, and add all their little, from their corners, certification training in separate conferences. And then industries like CISSP started coming in and becoming an oversight for a whole industry. Coming in from the outside and watching this happen all over again with open source intelligence, I'm like, fine, let's build it. Let's be that for everybody. But frankly, let's not cost out the people who want to be part of this. I have no disrespect for the organizations that are going to charge thousands of dollars to get that qualification. But I keep looking at vets and law enforcement who are pulling out of their own pockets to get this. And I want to make this tenable and obtainable by all sorts. And I say vets and military because those are the folks I'm looking at every day. But we also have disadvantaged communities and plenty of folks that come through the pathway like Skull Games who are like, hey, I'm really good at this. And by the way, I'm the wife of a military veteran, or this is my second career, and I'm just, darn it, I want to work from home, but I have this really great skill set, but I don't want to be a licensed private investigator, like there's a pathway. So, God bless, and I'm just going to thank Bret and Cynthia Navarro and Will Meckler and the folks that are really part of making this happen, because they're like, yeah, heck yeah, let's do it. And they are the legs that are making this happen. This is my heart, but they're the legs that are making this happen. And you guys, because you're on the call and you're very involved in this, you're going to be the founders. I mean, this is it. 20 years from now, we'll look back and be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. Just now, it'll be a video we can look back on, and I would like you to all recognize that I have spectacular hair for you today, that me and Ray Baker both brought it. So.
Hey, I brought my hair game.
Yes, Brett, you too, man. You totally. I noticed the trim going on.
I
Yeah, but Will's
choose
the
to
only
grow it
one
on
in
a
the
different
suit.
side.
Yeah, Will's got a suit.
Oh, yeah. He's looking good.
And another
Every
thing
once in a while, I
that
pull it out.
Cynthia hinted on, and I'd like to make a call out to our whole association of professionals, is there's a lot of people who have talented research skills, and they have no idea they could be making money doing this. And so part of our association, part of our certification is to educate people that if you've got talent in research, if you've got a critical questioning mind, which, let's be honest, most of the next generation coming up through high school right now can research the heck out of the internet. They just need little guidelines on what's the rights and wrongs and left and right limits of that research. But there's no reason why they couldn't make a long-lasting, lucrative career out of being an OSINT professional. So I do send that call out to the community of tell those young people coming up to schools and in colleges, we need their mindset, their curious mind on research, and to come join our community and help keep us smart on all the trends that are changing.
Yeah, and there's already the different colleges that are coming out with specific things for OSINT, which is great. And they need to be part of this. They barely have any money to eat, let alone to go out and try and say, hey, I got a certification. At least, you know, you have something in their hands to feel that they've had an accomplishment. And we all need that. We need an accomplishment within our lives because we work hard.
Yeah, I had to build computers in my dusty dorm room to pay my way through college. If I could have just spent a couple hours researching and cranked out a due diligence report, that would have been way easier.
Yeah. Ramen noodles. You are so funny, Cynthia. I've been out to dinner with you.
It's because you never leave your office, Cynthia, to be honest.
You got a hot pot over here. I like ramen noodles. I think ramen noodles get a bad I mean, I'm gonna die at, 58 because of the sodium content, but
All right, well, I appreciate everyone's time tonight. I think we've got a good round of questions out. If anyone's got any burning questions for our stellar panel members out there, please drop in the chat and we'll come back around to them. But yeah, it's been a great evening of conversation on reference materials and skills for analysts to get started and what to keep working on as you're moving through the career. Like I said, March 28th, in-person exam with Hetherington Group in Chicago. That'll be our first run. Cynthia will actually probably be the proctor, so watch out. And then April 25th, we'll start opening up our online exam certificates for everyone. $200 is the flat rate, but like I said, there's going to be plenty of discount codes out there because we want to get this certificate out there broad. At the next OSC conference, I don't know if we mentioned it, but we are going to have a breakout space where we can just run the OSC exam over and over and over again. And so we want to, we're not going to be gatekeepers. We do want to help everyone enjoy this professional option for their career. And we do want everyone's input as well. If you do get a chance to sit the exam, be honest with us and let us know how we can make it better. I expect this over the next few years to become the exam of choice for OSINT professionals and online investigators.
Well, thank you, though.
OSINT Academy cohort, is that a Will Meckler question?
Yeah.
Will Meckler.
Yeah. I think we'll get it offline.
Oh, okay.
I want to drop a quick thank you for everybody, and I have a little rich reward for that. My book, OSINT, The Authoritative Guide, the publisher's title, not mine, because I'm sitting next to Ray Baker. That's not too intimidating at all. The version of it now is ready. The review copy is ready. If any of you would like to take a review copy, it's a very light 416 pages. But it's good. We're looking for reviewers. So I would like to make that available to anyone on this call. I did drop in my email right
How
there.
many pictures are in those 416 pages?
Yeah.
Crayons.
Like comic book? That's
Do
what
I
we
look
need. We
like
need a
Ray
comic.
Baker? Talented like that? No, I have words.
I had to fight with Wiley to put as many pictures in mine as I did.
Ah.
Because they want all text. I'm like, nobody's gonna read it.
Yeah.
They were nice pictures too.
I had to like turn them sideways and shrink them down. I was like, these are going in there.
It's a challenge, let me tell you. Writing, and I know Ray, we asked Ray, and thank you, Ray, for joining us on this call.
Sure.
Because she is, and those of you that don't know, Ray, you've been doing this OSINTing since like what, forever, like 2019?
Yeah. Yeah. 2019 self-taught. I didn't take any kind of classes or anything. I ended up taking SANS only because my job paid for it.
But this is what I was kind of saying when I was talking about reading this on the plane. I'm like, oh my God, plus the cover is gorgeous. So I'm like, this work is amazing. I'm really enjoying this book. This has got some great framework. This is like, this person gets it. And then I read her bio in the back and I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Ray's been doing this for 5 years.
I'm like trying to write a bio. I'm like, okay, graphic designer, and then worked in OSINT, and that's it.
But good Lord, right? That's what really made this seminal for me in getting this certification done, because it's like, you don't have to have been doing this for 30
No.
years like myself, like Navarro. You don't have to have come from real, like a geospatial guy with like really good tradecraft like Bret. Like, you really can pick up this talent, become super fascinated and really, really smart, and write a book.
No, and
will-
I'll tell you, I got my job because they found me on Twitter. Like, I didn't go searching for it. They
Yeah.
saw my blogs, my talks, stuff like that, and they reached out. So anybody can do that. I mean, I'm not special. You can write blogs, you can go to conferences. I think it's attainable for anybody.
I love that, Ray. And that you said that and you share that really means, I mean, it just justifies everything we're trying to accomplish here. This is a skill set that if you just put energy and effort into it, you don't necessarily have to throw a lot of money at it. You can learn this, you could become a trained expert, and then we're going to help you be recognized in the hiring world, in the industry world, and in the legal world, in the community, that you are an expert, and that we're surrounded. This whole video is nothing but people who do this for a living and are really well-meaning and well-intentioned. And that's why I'm very, very excited about it. So I do see all the, yes, I want to review it. Guys, you just drop me a message, an email. Tomorrow, I'm going to be emailing out copies of the book. And good, bad, or indifferent, I'm going to be looking for your feedback on it. So thank you. And thank you for joining us for this call. And thank you again, Bret, for pulling us all together.
Yeah. Hey, Kim, I want to say something to you that you're not allowed to go to trainings anymore. If you start going out and looking, but there's a lot of free trainings that are coming out, and that they'll record them and you can review them later. Sign up for it and then go back later in your time so that you can at least get trained that way. You know, with Authentic 8 that Cynthia was on, she was in there talking about stuff. They pre-recorded it. And I know there's probably 3 or 4 other ones I've signed up for that I don't have time for right now, but I know I can go back to the recording.
Yep, that's what we're doing with the April 25th event. Is it'll be a paid session, but we're going to record it, and anyone who wants to pay later and attend later, they're welcome to. That's what the Osmosis Association is trying to do, is provide resources for our community. So feel free to go on the site. If you find some free training, drop it on there. And yeah, from like newbie to 2 years later, publishing a book that's now cited on the exam that's going to standardize our profession. Way to go, Ray.
And I wrote the book as a New Year's resolution. Like, I just want to put that out there.
That was way better than my New Year's resolution.
I
Yeah.
pick a really crazy thing every year, and that was just like, I'm like, what do I do now?
And
Well,
you
what
stuck
are you
with it.
doing this year then?
I don't know. I want a Netflix special. That's my
Ooh,
pie in the sky now.
oh, that would be fun.
Ooh.
Brett, can
Like
they
as a
get a
criminal?
copy of this recording?
Yep, I'm gonna post this recording into Osmosis, the news feed, tomorrow, as soon as it's ready.
Okay.
And everyone gets a puppy from Sarah when we're done.
Yeah.
I just want to see a picture of all 22 dogs hanging out on the couch in the living room.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time tonight. Thank you for all your collaboration. Thank you to our panel members for providing all your expertise. Thank you, Will, for wearing a suit for us. I appreciate it. I'm
You're
not going to
awesome.
ask you to stand up so I can see the rest of the suit, because I'm sure it's not there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you for
It's in the
having
closet.
me.
I'm not gonna lie. It's in the closet.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Y'all have a wonderful
Questions,
evening.
let us know. Go online and just ask questions. Populate that.
Thank you, everybody, for having me. I appreciate
All right. Thank you so
listening to me
much.
talk.
always good to chat with you, Ray. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you.